that we'll be having Yusuf Ayuba. He's the Deputy Director of Communications for the Electoral Commission. He'll be in the studio. And we've seen a lot more prophecies from prophets and other ministers of God than we've seen in any election year since 1992. But we would want to know the phenomenon, why it's come about, and how come we tend to have a lot more of these prophecies coming to the fore. And so we decided I wanted to invite Prophet Bedu Kobi. He has a church in Sakumono. I know the church very well. I really follow his teachings very, very often. But he will be in the studio alongside Samson Amwating. So just in case that perhaps you've been in the spirit like me since the early part of the morning when I joined the show, please make sure that you join us for that very conversation.
Well, this week, also very topical this week, and in the news a lot has been George Anda for something he said on the political stage. And we want to play back exactly what he said and the effect of that, the kind of feedback, the protest that's coming out of that, and subsequently what he said to defend what he said on that political podium. So here we go, first of all, with what exactly George Anda is reported to have said.
The no so bad. Offer no kunimbra. One catch a hana. Offer no kunimba trahon. I'm a me waha. I saw to a brother was show. So bye. So bye.
So that's the, you know, the aspiring member of parliament for Efutu Senior West, George Anda. Remember, he's battling Ewutu. He's battling that seat with the Foreign Affairs Minister Hannah Tete, and the fact that he was calling on Hannah Tete to showcase her husband really has gotten some kind of backlash. And so this week, some women in that particular constituency also took to the streets. We'll bring you highlights of those.
Georgiana, or say, Sujafo. Ne Sujafo na okanmentiasi. Enti ni fie Sujani ni bi ni ho. Ni fie Sujani ni ho.
George Anda has offended us with his comments. Doesn't he have single women in his house too? A man who refers to a woman as a prostitute must be dealt with. He has no right to speak like that. He must come out and apologize to all of us. The comments were unfair to Hannah. We are not doing politics, but we want him to come out and apologize.
Okay, so not after this protest, I must say. This was a conversation between our colleague Matilda Vumaga and Mr. George Anda. This was after the backlash, before this protest and the concerns that we've just shown you. So we'll take that conversation between Matilda and Mr. George Anda now.
If I ask you to come onto the campaign trail with your husband, does it mean that you are not married? I do not know whether Hannah Tete is married or not. For me, that's not an issue. I campaign based on issues. The issue is that Hannah Tete and her team have been running me down. They're going around the constituency, peddling all sorts of lies about me. Amongst them, suggesting that I'm irresponsible because I've moved from one job to the other and that I've been sacked. Okay? They peddle all sorts of things about me. So when we talk about irresponsibility, okay, there are different levels of being irresponsible. I come to the constituency with my wife. I proudly show my wife to the electorate, and the electorate are excited. And I say, come to the constituency with your husband. If Hannah Tete was a Roman sister, and I said, come to the constituency with your husband, then you can say that I'm insulting her. But I don't see the insult here, okay? You see, the thing is, in as much as possible, we'll campaign on issues. And I love to campaign on issues.
Exactly.
But if you attack my flag bearer or you attack my personality...
So who attacked your personality?
I would not sit down. Your camera crew, okay, let them show the rally, okay, of the NDC last week in Bojuase. Okay, and let them show where Hannah Tete was there and the DC was there. Let us show what somebody called Partey was saying about me. Okay, I think that you should strike the balance, and these are things that have been going on and on. I mean,
you thought the best way was to come at her at that?
The best way was to what?
To come at her at.
How do I come at her? I don't know. What is wrong? Matilda, if I come to you and I say, where's your husband, or show me your husband, is it an insult?
One would want to find out if you're really campaigning on issue. Why do you drag that on your campaign trail?
Because I was responding to something that they've been saying. Okay, I'm responding to issues that they've been saying. They've been pushing issues of me being irresponsible down to the people, and the people are worried that I'm not responding to them, because I wouldn't normally come to these things, okay? But I think that there's a time for everything. Well, a lot of people are sure because, like you don't understand what the issue was and you don't have the context. So you are saying that I'm attacking her not being married. And I've asked you a question. Where did I say that Hannah Tete was not married?
Is that a key thing people of Ewutu Senya West are looking for?
Matilda, with all due respect, I spoke about a lot of things that day. Okay? I spoke about a lot of things that day. So if you tell me that I spoke only about that, then you're being very, very unfair.
I'm not saying that is the only thing you spoke about. That was one of the issues you highlighted on.
You asked me about the key issues in Ewutu Senya West. Yeah. Some people may have taken it out of context, okay? I've explained what the context was. I'm focused on my campaign, I'm focused on my issues-based campaign, but if you attack me and my team and I decide that we have to respond, we will respond.
So you...
All right, so you know that subsequently these women in the constituency who are protesting, they are asking Mr. George Anda to apologize, or the next thing they're going to go on a naked protests. We don't have a reaction to that yet from Mr. George Anda, but when we do, we'll bring that to you. But listen, the question we're asking is, should marriage be any measure at all for the selection of public office holders? Should you necessarily, if I'm standing for a position, should I necessarily climb that podium with a husband or a man in my life? I mean, is it the man who's standing for elections, or is me? What does that matter at all in running for public office? Send us your views. Send us a message on WhatsApp on 0560 800,000. Get in touch with us on Facebook as well. And we want to say good morning to everybody who's watching our live streaming on Facebook, because we're live on Facebook now, to our friends in Germany, Samuel, who's in Germany, who always watches the show. And good morning to Mr. Daniel Kenu, my very good friend who works with the graphic communication groups, who is based in Kumasi and also watching the show now. Good morning, sir. Okay, so and then, you know, get in touch with us on this particular subject. But we've got lots of messages, Roland, on other issues as well. We want to read a few to you. This is pretty long, from Emmanuel Opoku. TB in Techiman says, good morning. On the issue of marriage being a criteria to hold public office, I think it should be a requirement, but to the electorate, it can be a guide in testing the level of morality of the candidate. Public office, in a way, can be compared to family system. If you ever married and couldn't control your home, it can affect the way you handle power. The adage, charity begins at home, works in this sense. If you couldn't manage your home, what is the guarantee to we, the electorate, you can control power if handed to you? So marriage can be a check, not a requirement. Interesting thoughts from Emmanuel Opoku in Techiman. Pretty interesting. If you've got a comment, if you want to have your say on this particular issue, you too can, 0560 800,000. I don't know what you think about this. The fact that if your marriage doesn't work, it tells the people. I don't buy into that anyway, but I think it's, in terms of making an argument, that's a good point.
Well, I think it's a very moot point. The subject of marriage doesn't in any way give any indication of how competent or incompetent somebody is.
I agree.
And also, marriage is a choice. It's a choice people make. And we should bear in mind that when you come together with somebody, you are two different individuals. So it could go either way.
Yeah.
Indeed, it could go either way the second time or even the third time. But you may be successful in managing people and becoming successful in other areas of life. It doesn't make you perhaps not have the ability or a lot more less responsible in a public office. So I think many of us who see Georganda as somebody we always look up to and somebody we like, so we find ourselves in a very difficult situation, more like a catch-22 situation, but we have to be realistic about it. Using that as something on the campaign platform, it's not the best. It's not the way to go. But he has also clarified himself and clarified the statement that he made, that he only said that on the campaign platform. It was not in any way to demean her or say anything negative about her. But the thing is that sometimes the reality is whoever that he was talking about is really not married, or perhaps had been married before, and so that could be a pointer for people to say that perhaps you're getting at her in a very negative way.
Yeah.
But this is also a point for us as a people, as society, to make sure that we talk about the issues on the campaign platform.
Yeah.
Because if you look at Ewutu Senya, what really are the difficulties that people are going through? What are the challenges that if you're a member of parliament, you can't help the people with when you get to be elected to represent yourself or to represent them in parliament? And so those are the issues that should have dominated the discussions. It's unfortunate that George says that he was reacting to what the supporters of Hannah were doing, and the media seem to have also caught him on the wrong side of
well, we're always looking for news. We're always looking for the things that are odd.
Yeah.
You know. So if you said that, I mean, and you should know, if you said that, that would make huge headlines. Besides, nobody has heard Hannah Tete open her mouth to say these things.
Yes, sure.
So
indeed, according to what the grapevine is, she may not have said the things directly that her supporters.
Exactly.
And so it could also be surmised that she didn't say or tell her people as a strategy, go and say this about Georganda. Yes, but I understand how Georganda feels. It's a bit unnerving and a bit annoying that you hear all these things about you, and sometimes you want to react.
Well,
and
you see, that's why when you're coming from a different field, people ask you, are you absolutely sure you want to do this petty party politics in Ghana?
I'm sure he wants to do it.
Because
definitely you need to come from another field. And
for
example, if I join a political party tomorrow,
who have been in the game
if I join a political party tomorrow and I want to be a straitjacket politician, it
depends on which
For
party
example,
you decide
look at
to
Donald
support.
Trump.
Listen,
look at all the things that he said on the campaign platform.
Yeah, I get you, but listen, he's known for that. He's known for that. He didn't surprise us, did he? That's why a lot of people, not everybody, because he won that election. That's why a lot of us said, even President Obama thought he wasn't fit to be in that high office. Because we know him. But when we know, like Roland, seriously, when you stand on the campaign platform and begin to do certain things, I will be taken aback. I'm like, is that the same Roland Walker that I know? But if you said something that was not right, depending on which party you're playing that game with.
I want to do politics one of these days.
Join which of them, NPP or NDC?
Yeah, but I don't think you're discouraging me. No.
If you stood in Ashaman and you're on the ticket of the NDC, and people were saying horrible things about you, and you really wanted to reply, I'll say speak to the member of parliament there now, the Honorable Agbeshi. Talk to him. He will tell you. Or talk to Alban Bagman. He will tell you how to behave. I mean, you should be looking up to the people who played the game for such a long time and how they've survived with all the things that people have said about them.
I'm sure Georganda will survive.
But when you say the things, listen, like you're referring to something. You haven't said anything really. But what has my husband got to do with what I am doing?
It's a very thorny issue.
Yeah.
It's a very thorny issue. But that's on the campaign platform. Talking about campaign platform, we know that for all the things that the the officers or those who want to vie for office are doing, they are managed by the Electoral Commission. And so we decided today to have a great conversation with the Electoral Commission, and they are represented, or going to be represented in the studio by Yusuf Ayuba. He's a Deputy Director of Communication for the Electoral Commission. He's right here in the studio. We'll introduce him very soon, and we would want to ask him a number of things. What would be some of the things
we do, and we're throwing that back at you because there was an interaction with some media personnel yesterday. We'll bring you bits of that conversation, but essentially largely throwing it back at you. And we appreciate that some of you are sending your concerns already. So for instance, Roland, Nathaniel from Tamil is asking, I want to know if the EC has published the list of the recruitment that was conducted. That's a question. We'll try and find answers. So if you've got questions like that related to your personal voting processes, please send it to us. We'll be back.
To also ensure that before we announce the presidential elections at the National Results Center, we have the benefit of seeing the scanned 29,000 polling station results that have come in to make sure that it is accurate and that we're not just basing the final announcement on the collated regional results that have been sent to us. We'll also be working with CODEO, with the unparalleled voter tabulation mechanism, which gives us another layer of results to make sure that whatever we're announcing finally is consistent with what political parties have, is consistent with what we have from our two sources before the final announcement is made. And so we do not believe that when it comes to the process, that there's any cause for concern, that there's any cause for worry that we are not ready for December 7th. We are ready. One of the reasons why we had to go to the Supreme Court to bring finality to the disputes over the nominations process was basically to ensure that we meet the November 7th deadline. Otherwise, we would have still had several suits at the High Court level, and when they are overturned, the parties would still have the benefit, assuming it was ruled against them, to go to the Court of Appeal and then to the Supreme Court. And so we decided that in the interest of the electoral process and to save the calendar and the nation's constitutional order, it is better that we go to take one of those judgments, go to the Supreme Court, get an order which comprehensively would cover all the other suits and bring finality to the process. As the body mandated to manage elections, we are committed fully to always following the law as we understand it. If a court brings a different appreciation of the law, we would obey that. It is our duty to obey the law. And we've had so many suits this year. Some the courts have upheld our position and we continue with the process. In others where aspects of the rulings have gone against us, we have complied with the court process expeditiously and to the best of our ability.
All right, we'll bring you more of the conversations as it happened at the press center yesterday. That interaction between officials of the Electoral Commission led by the chair and some media personnel. But we've got the Deputy Communications Director, Yusuf Ayuba, here with us. He'll be taking all your questions related to the election. We want to find out what the Electoral Commission is doing new in terms of innovation with this particular elections. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
What's up?
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Okay, so first, you update us. What's new with the elections this year?
Oh, we have a lot of new innovations. The first one is every polling station will have an additional BVD, which was a problem in 2012. So we've been able to solve.
That's a verification device.
Yes, the biometric verification device. So that is one. If you look at the new statement of poll and declaration of results sheets, we've done some modifications. Now it will be easier for presiding officers to, fill those forms. We've created additional, columns for the serial numbering. It was a problem in 2012 where, because of the column and you looking at the large number of serial numbers, it could not enter. So we've broken them into bits and pieces. So if you have 25 booklets, there's a specific column for put in the 25 booklet serial number. If you have 50, there's a specific column for that. If you have 100, there's a specific column for that. So as we go on, I'll talk about some of the new things that we're going to, adapt in this year's elections.
But we know that forefront is the difficulties that the political party have had until now with the Electoral Commission. We've been able to sail through with the disqualification processes. We have to quickly ask you, how do you think, as a communication person, dented the image or not, or created some negative publicity for you with the stakeholders, the electorate on one hand, and also perhaps observers in the international community?
I think that some of the issues that came up was the lack of understanding of the processes that we undertake in order for us to either accept a nomination form or any other activity that we undertake. So we've educated people on the processes. If you pick a nomination form, it is a requirement in law that you must meet certain basic requirements in the law before your nomination would be accepted. So it is the responsibility of these candidates to make sure that in filling the nomination form, they should be guided by provisions in the law, so that when they come up with their nomination forms, it will not be rejected. If you look at some of the issues that came up, we were quite surprised as a commission, because we launched a guide to candidates and their agents manual, which contains everything that you are supposed to know in filling your nomination form. If you take the CI 94, almost everything that is required specifically in that law is stated clearly in there. So, we're surprised that a lot of the candidates, if I may say, did not take the exercise quite serious. Therefore, the commission could not accept their nominations because it didn't meet the requirements in law. Yes.
The good thing is that from the last election, and in retrospect, we have a number of things that perhaps went wrong or went right, and so we have to begin and ask the questions from there. How do we make sure that if somebody goes to a poll on December 7, the person, if doesn't have a card, or perhaps doesn't have the number or the fingerprint registering, the person can still vote?
If you don't have a card, that is why we have a names reference list officer who has a list of all the registered voters in that particular polling station arranged in alphabetical order. So if you get to the polling station without an ID card, you just have to mention your name as it appears on the ID card. Then they'll go through the list and find your name. So the name reference list officer will then tell the verification officer where you are placed in the register.
Okay.
So if you are in page maybe 5, it will tell whether you are on the left side of the register or on the right side of the register. So it makes it easy for reference. So when you get to the verification officer, everybody has a unique barcode which identifies you as a person. So your barcode is scanned with the BVD. That's a biometric
But you have that
verification
barcode.
device.
Is the Electoral Commission that has that barcode?
It's embedded in the register.
Okay.
So if you look at the register, under your picture and your details, there's a barcode there. So that barcode is scanned, which pops up your picture on the device. So they will look at you and look at your picture. Then you go through the process of verifying. So you put your thumb on it. Before you register, you are required to use all your 10 fingerprints in registering. The minimum you can use to register is 6.
Okay.
So if you put the first one, the device will direct you as to which finger you should put on the device. So if you put the first one, it doesn't pick it. It will tell you to use the other one till we exhaust all the 10. If after all the 10, you are still not verified, but it is established that you are the one at the polling station, then the presiding officer would pick the manual verification form, will fill the form, then all the polling agents at the station would authenticate, would sign to indicate that it's been established that you are the one. You've gone through all the necessary, processes to be verified, but the machine has failed you. Then you'll be allowed to go through the manual verification.
And all the agents should agree on this.
Yes.
If
yes.
one person disagrees, what happens?
It will be very rare, because you can clearly establish that. The good thing about our processes is that the people live in the community. I'm sure the political parties will not pick an agent outside the community, because if you pick somebody outside the community, identifying the people on the road will be a challenge. So normally what they do is to pick agents who live in the community, who can challenge anybody who they think is not qualified. I'm sure it will work right.
Okay. My fear is somebody disagreeing that this person actually lives in this community and should be registered, especially when the biometric device didn't pick.
It's possible. I can give examples in 2012 where I was a district officer in Bole then, where a fire officer who everybody knew in the community came to the polling station and the machine failed him.
And
he walked away.
But you tried to rectify it this time around.
Yes.
With all these things.
Because it wasn't fair for him. Everybody was there. They all knew him. But the machine could not authenticate.
And the parties have agreed to
And
this.
it was no verification, strictly no votes.
Yes.
Okay.
And now we've stated it in the CI 94, and all the political parties have agreed. So.
You did an exhibition, and so it means that I went for the exhibition. I don't know about.
I didn't.
I don't know about here. And
sadly,
there are thousands of Ghanaians also who may not have gone to the exhibition.
But my name is in the register.
If your name was in the last register that was used to organize the polls in 2012, but you didn't go for an exhibition, you don't know whether your name is there, what happens to you?
It's a dicey issue, because assuming you registered in 2012 with the NHIS card and your name has been deleted and you did not go for exhibition to check whether your name is in the register or not, then it will be a challenge, because at the point of going to vote, your name may not be in the register.
Okay.
But then if you did not use the NHIS card to register, and by maybe you couldn't go for exhibition, your name should still be in the register. Yes.
Is there, because there was this short code that we were asked to send a certain message to. Does it still exist? Is it still working?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Now, if we have to go forward with that, it means that people would have to vote in various polling stations. Yeah. The last time we knew that sometimes you want to go and vote, and then the announcement comes from you that the polling stations have been split. So does it mean that we have more polling stations or less for this election?
We have 28,992 polling stations for these elections.
That's more than the last one?
Yes. The last time we had 26,003.
How would people know that their polling stations have been relocated?
If a polling station is split, now we've capped the threshold to 850. So if it is more than 850, then it will be split into A and B. It will be located in the same, location, but then we'll have different set of officials, working in the A and also in the B. So what you have to do is, it may be problematic, because you could go and queue, but my understanding is that I don't want to speculate, so let me.
Yeah, no, I was just trying to picture what you're saying. I'll be in one queue, and then when it gets to my turn, they will tell me my name is not in this register, but that's not all. So go to the other one and go and check.
So what
it means I'm going to start from the end of that queue as well.
That is why when we started the exhibition, it was one of the issues that we raised, that we are going to split some of the polling stations. So it is very important for you to go and check and know exactly where your polling station is, so that come election, you will not be going around looking for your polling station, or you will not go and queue, and when it gets to your turn, they tell you you are in B.
Yeah.
Then you have to move and go and join.
I've got a suggestion, and I think it was used. The last election, somehow I could send a text message, and they would tell me where I was voting.
The good thing is that if you look at the numbers at the polling station, it's much reduced. So we don't think it will be much of a challenge. It used to be a challenge when we had huge numbers, above 1,000. Some go above 2,000. So you can imagine the number of people who would come to the centers to vote. So if Ghanaians would go early, and cast their vote, we are very sure that some of these late voting would be a thing of the past.
And from a meeting yesterday, the police say they will not allow people to use stones and stools to queue.
No, you have to be there in person because we've reduced the numbers. So it wouldn't be a problem, this time. If you go, you just queue. If it is time, it wouldn't take you more than 3 minutes to go through the process.
I don't remember whether I've asked this question though, but the last time I remember we were covering the elections, but we had to be told that some other areas or constituencies with some polling stations would have to vote the next day. What have you done to prevent that from occurring?
In the law, there's a possibility that the polls can be adjourned, but then it depends on several factors. But then in 2012, the major issue was the numbers. People were still in the queue after 5 p.m. up to 8 p.m., 9 p.m. So the polls had to be adjourned. Some of the BVDs also malfunctioned. So those were the causes of extending the period to the next day. But now we have enough backups. At the polling station, we have 2 BVDs. At the constituency level, we have backups, and even at the regional level, we have backups. So as and when one develops a problem, and that one is withdrawn, then a new BVD will be brought from the constituency district office, to augment, to serve as a backup to the one being used. So,
how many people are on the register for the election for 2016?
We have approximately 15,712,499.
Okay. And how many of them make up for special voting and those that will be voting for proxy?
Special voting, we have 65,001. 65,001. And proxy, we have 534.
Yes. And you've provided all these figures to the parties?
Yes. I sent the messages to the political parties. They've already come for the registers, but this week, I think it was on Monday, I sent messages to the political parties, to bring their hard drives to receive.
The MPP were complaining that you were delaying because the one you sent to them was corrupted. Have you finished them with the current?
When that issue came up, we said, there's a possibility that if you pick a data in a drive, it could be corrupted. So the appropriate place is to come back to the commission and lodge a complaint, and a solution would be found.
No. I was just going to say that I don't know, because it looks like it was only the NPP. They couldn't have access to their files, and that was the major complaint, because nobody else had complained.
It's possible, because even if you have a drive and the program you are using is not compatible, it could refuse to open. But when you use it on another device, it will open. So, but then the concerns have been noted, and I'm sure it's been resolved.
When it comes to having people do proxy voting, what's the process? And if somebody has not done and started the process by now, is it too late?
It's late. It ended on the 26th of October, the closing date. So if you've already applied, and your name is in the proxy list, so what you do is you need to belong to the same polling station. So in the morning, you, the proxy, would go and vote for yourself. Then after that, you come back and because you have a cheat indicating that you are voting for a proxy. So you come back, they check the list, because the list will be provided at the polling station. So they check the list. If your name is there, then you'll be allowed to vote for the applicant to authorize you to vote on his or her behalf.
And by regulation, what was the process to initiate a proxy?
Oh, you the applicant would come to the district office of the Electoral Commission. You come and apply for a proxy. You'll be given 4 forms to fill. When you finish filling the form, you come with your proxy to the office, and then would we'll verify you to establish that you are the one. If it is established, then your barcode would be replaced with that of the proxy, so that the proxy can vote.
In the election in the United States, we had media reports in which we had Democrats or Republicans or the other minority party representatives saying that we're going to, in effect, as we have it in our local parlance, bus people to go and vote. In our scenario, when you hear the word busing, the political parties are up in arms. Is there any law on it, or is it allowed? Because in America it's allowed.
There's no law, banning busing, but it depends on the way it is done. All the electoral activities is by choice. It's by choice. An individual decides that he or she wants to go and register to vote. So we should allow the individuals to take their own initiatives, to go. But then there are certain areas which can be, difficult, to access. So sometimes the political parties facilitate, these people by providing them with transportation.
It's not wrong, is it?
I don't think it's wrong, but sometimes it's the abuse, and in the
United States, the reasons they cited were for apathy and for the individual's inability, and also perhaps they were at work or at a place where they couldn't get access to their voting areas.
If it is well organized, when it came
well, the people will be in Ashaiman, but they have their registered centers in the Volta region. But they would want to go and vote.
It happens. I mean, we've seen a situation where these candidates provide transportation for even students who are here to go to the north or any part of the country to vote. I mean, it's not a problem because they will get down at a point and walk to the polling station. But the issue is that it shouldn't create problems for the election officials at the polling station. But if it is organized in a very peaceful manner where they facilitate them getting to the district or to the polling station, I don't think it.
Sure, we're getting questions on 0560 800,000. That's the WhatsApp number. And Orion Konongo is asking, or essentially, let me read exactly what you said. Please ask, can he tell us where the indelible ink for the elections will be coming from? Rumors have it that some group will add fake ink to cause rejected ballots.
It's not possible. I mean, that is why we are providing tissue at the polling booth. So when you get there, you have to clean your finger before you tamper in, so that those inks would not cause rejected ballots.
Okay. Okay. Let me read a few. Okay, if you have a question, please do.
I have more. Okay, so the last time, the political parties were complaining that there were mistakes on the sheets, and it was linked to the perhaps low IQ levels of the officials you had engaged, etc. What category of people have you engaged this time?
This time, out of the reform committee, recommendations, we have made sure that the minimum for presiding officers would be SSCE. That's the minimum. It's possible everybody that we are going to pick as a presiding officer would have a degree, but then the minimum with other experiences. We have people who've done this work over and over again. They have a lot of experience. So we've capped it from degree, HND, professional, teacher certificate. Then the minimum would be SSC with experience and special skills.
Okay. Before we wrap up on the conversation, what next after balloting? Rona wants to have you the whole morning.
we'll be having our notice of pool, which is just a notice indicating the positions of the candidates on the ballot and how they are going to be authenticated, so that it will serve as a public education for people to know exactly.
I don't get it. How different is that from what you did on Wednesday?
No, that was the balloting for the positions. So after that, we have to come up with the notices of pool.
Okay.
Which would paste in all the constituencies across the country for people to know exactly where their preferred candidate is placed on the ballot paper.
Even after knowing the numbers?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's the next step.
Okay.
So after that, we can go into, start printing the ballot papers.
Okay. How soon is that going to be?
Very soon. Very soon.
Very soon is next week?
We've prepared everything. We are almost done with the parliamentary, ballot papers. So as soon as we are done with that, they will go into.
Okay.
Printing.
Are you going to put the parliamentary first in the constituencies, the what you just mentioned, or you want to wait and finish with the presidential?
We'll finish the presidential, then we send both to the regions. It goes to the region first for the political parties. What is done at the printing houses is that we have currently, as we speak, we have our agents, we have the security agents also there, agencies also there. We have agents of the political parties present at the printing houses to observe.
So right now,
they are there. They are there as we speak. So they would follow the processes. As and when we finish with the printing, they will pick all the serial numbers of the ballot, papers, going to specific regions. So when it gets to the region, the ballot will be sealed, everything will be sealed and sent to the region, to the district, police, or the regional police command. We'll invite all the political parties, there. We'll recheck the serial numbers, because the serial numbers would have been given to their representatives. They sometimes, follow the ballot as it moves from Accra to the various regions, until it gets to the region. They check the serial numbers, they pick, then the ballots are distributed specific to constituencies when it comes to parliamentary, but the presidential, the whole country is one constituency. So when it gets to, before it leaves the region to the constituency, they have given the serial numbers to their reps in the constituency. So when it gets there, we all go to the police station. It is opened again. It is checked. We are all sure we pick the serial numbers. Then the bags are resealed with our seals. That's the Electoral Commission seals, and any other political party who wants to, put the seals. Then it is kept in safe custody till a day before the elections, where we go back and pick it, then we start the distribution to the specific polling stations.
Okay, so Roland has finally shut his phone, painfully though, because there are a lot of questions that he still wanted to ask, and I still have a lot of messages that I haven't even opened on WhatsApp, but we'll have you again.
Okay.
I mean, the election is coming up on the 7th of December, so you can come and educate us a lot more and answer a lot more of the questions that are on people's minds. But for this morning, we're grateful that you could make it here. Thanks a lot. That's Deputy Communications Director of the Electoral Commission, Mr. Yusuf Ayuba, joining us for elections conversation on our show.